Hello, everybody, and once again, welcome all of you back to part three. So there's no other way to put it. So let's get to it.
That's more meaningful to me than getting one rise out of a stupid joke.
What is what's a day like look for you? When you wake up, what is it? What is your average day like? Walk me through a day of Phil.
Okay.
Like when you from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep.
Usually I don't wake up. Usually my cat wakes me up, and I get out of bed and get ready for the day. Just like a normal person. Shower or eat breakfast, have a coffee, do chores around the house quick. Depends on the day because some days my wife's at work, some days she's not. Jump into the office here. So time wise, I probably get up between 8 9 a.m. every day. I get into the office usually between 10 a.m. I'm setting up for my stream for the day. I'm reading news off of Twitter to try to have news stories for everyone to talk about on my podcast, which I do every day. My stream usually goes on by 10:45 a.m. my time. We do a little bit of pre-stream, get some people on the stream for about 15 20 minutes, play some music or whatever. And then I do what I call the Level 1 podcast. This is about an hour to an hour and a half long show where it's just discussion. And it could be a wide variety of topics, whether it's my gaming schedule for the next week, whether it's special events coming up, getting feedback from my viewers on how you like the things I'm currently doing, news stories, all kinds of stuff. This is something I just started about a year to a year and a half ago that I didn't used to do. And I realized this is meaningful that I should be doing in my...
By the way, just so you guys needed to be aware, for what it's worth, the only reason why Phil started the Level 1 podcast was literally to spite Keemstar over the fact that Phil thought he was too good to be on a podcast where he could have got a share of $50,000 between him, Boogie, and Wings of Redemption. Now we know Boogie's a piece of shit, as we know, and there is literally no depths to which he will sink in terms of actually trying to make money or get it however he can. I've not heard a terrible lot about Wings for the last couple of months, so maybe he could have done with the money a bit more, but who knows.
My content. So I do the podcast. Usually the podcast ends around 12:30ish Pacific time. Maybe take another few minutes break. Then we start with gameplay. So we'll do about a 3 to 4 hour gameplay stream. Games, are, as we talked, are wide variety, and I have a set schedule I do every day. I'll post it up everywhere on my socials so people know what I'm doing. That gameplay will usually run about 3 4 hours. Then when that's done, I have to upload all that content. So, another half an hour roughly setting up uploads or whatever. And then usually I spend if my wife's home from work, I'll spend about an hour with my wife having dinner, running errands around the house. Again, depends on the day, anything I could squeeze between streams. I'm right back on stream again around 6:30. I'm in the office again. And I'm streaming again for another 2 to 3 hour, gameplay stream. The late night streams are more chill streams. What I say is the daytime streams are more, let's say there's a major new game coming out. In a few weeks, we got Resident Evil, actually next week, Resident Evil 4 Remake. That'll be my daytime streams. That's the one everyone wants to see. More people can watch usually on an earlier time zone or time frame. So I'll play that on the first stream. My late night streams are chill. You just want to relax with me. You don't care about rage. You don't care about a new game. You just want to relax with Phil. Come to my late night stream. That's like 6:45 p.m. every day. And that runs about 2 3 hours. And it's just chill gameplay. It's not about the gameplay. It's about me talking with my audience. And if there's gameplay, great. We'll advance with the game. But it's more just relaxing. And then when that's done, that stream probably runs till around 9:30 p.m. Then I got to upload. And then, of course, I'm closing down for the...
Here's an interesting little problem I think I found with the way Phil wants to do things is that he says he wants to sort of do gameplay, let's say between 1 p.m. to about 4 Pacific time. The problem with this is that providing that some of his audience, don't have a day job or anything like that, or anything where their commitments lie anything outside those hours, it would be a bit more difficult, I suppose, for DSP to actually kind of get a main grap of that sort of a grapple of the sort of audience he probably wants. But the problem is that kind of the reason why I stopped watching Twitch streamers back in the middle of 2020 is because this is when I got back into having a full-time job, and I've basically been in full-time work ever since, so for basically the last 4 years. And one thing you kind of pick up on very, very quickly is that by the time you do get home from a long day of work, is that you are kind of just tired, and you've just basically done a full shift day's graft, and however you want to spend your evening is absolutely fine. But probably, and it's probably something that doesn't even occur to Phil, is that somebody is grafted all day and they've earned basically their fair share for the stuff they do. How much Phil recognizes this and wants to, donate it to his stream, or even just to have the time to collaborate with him, because DSP has had that stigma attached to him when it comes to begging outright for money. This, to be honest, I can think of only one real solution as to how DSP could have fixed this problem, is that if he just reduced the going rate for actually subscribing to his channel, or how much you can donate to him just to have him read something out on his message. Because when you think about it, if let's say it cost £1 a month just to join DSP's channel, I reckon that's like a dollar. That's like nothing. You know what I mean? It wouldn't cost that much, and if Phil interacted and he just talked and he had that exuberant face of just any tips or bits. Now, with that being said, Phil is not exactly what we call new to this. It may be argued that Phil considers this hit like a profession, and it kind of has the mentality of being expected to be paid a professional wage. He treats this literally as his 9 to 5, as his job. While we're at that on the subject, let's discuss very, very briefly about the difference between a 9 to 5 job and being self-employed. 9 to 5, it doesn't really have to require to that, because my schedule, it could be, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I will have to work from 6 o'clock in the evening till 2 o'clock in the morning, but it is always 8 hours, it's always 40 hours a week. That's how it's been for the last 13 months at my new job. That's working for a company, it's working for a business, it's working for a place where there are supervisors, there are managers, there are gaming managers, there are people in a higher position than I am. It's a meritocracy, pretty much so, but the case is that there is structure, there's management, there's leadership, there's rules set in place, and you just have to fall in line, and if you do well and you have a good reputation on your shoulders, you can get promoted, and you can have more responsibilities and get a higher wage if you were supervisor or manager. This is not a new concept, by the way. It was like this at my previous job, or at least in the building which I worked in. I wasn't strictly a member of the team of people who worked in the building. I was somebody that was hired by a business to come and to do what I did. Now, with that being all said, self-employed means that Phil is his own boss. He is the man in charge. He can choose his own hours. He can choose when he wants to work. He can choose to take a few days off as far as he's concerned. What matters, however, is that Phil has all the responsibilities. He has all the accountability, and something that a lot of people don't need to be told about this, but it is worth putting into perspective, is that Phil is unfortunately under the impression that because he thinks that just because he is head honcho and he has all of this credibility to his name, that automatically makes him entitled to receiving more than probably he is worth. Now, with that being said, if Phil makes the money, however, then that's just how that is. If people do want to donate to Phil for whatever reason, there is no force to stop them. I'm not going to start telling people what they can and cannot do with their money, but it is worth noting, however, is that, again, if Phil had, and I've said this before, and I'll just bring this part to an end shortly, is that if it worked before for Phil, then it sets the idea that Phil has built a very comfortable nest for himself, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it doesn't really make much sense from the perspective of Phil as to why he would need to change anything in a hurry. So there of course is that. Maybe his schedule, whilst it's probably not the sort of one I would stick to, it makes sense from his perspective, and it's something that has probably worked many times before. So why mess over? Why break something that isn't broken?
The day setting up streams for the next. I'm probably out of my
works,
office between 10 to 11 p.m. So all in all, we were talking work day wise. My work day starts roughly around 9:30, 10 a.m. and ends around 10 to 11 p.m. Then after that, I maybe have an hour to spend with my wife and relax at night. Watch a movie, watch a TV show or whatever. And, and then chores around the house. It's time for bed and on to the next day. And that's 6 days a week. That's my life. 1 day a week I take off from streaming and content creation. And that day is essentially every possible thing you can think of that I need to cram into one day. Whether that's grocery shopping, doctor's appointments, running errands, everything you can think of. Oh, by the way, that's the one day I have off to spend some time with my wife, other than an hour here and an hour there. So if we're going to do something, we try to cram it in on that day. And that's my life.
So let me ask you this. Just based off of what you're saying right now, that doesn't seem like the most healthy lifestyle. It doesn't seem like the most conducive, from a streaming perspective or a content perspective. Yes, you're producing a lot of content, but it doesn't seem like a very healthy lifestyle. Do you?
It isn't, and to be honest, I probably have lived this life just as much. And I mean, it should be worth noting is that at the height of when I was working at my old job, I was working a 66-hour week, because technically I had 2 jobs outside of, again, uploading things onto YouTube. So the problem I wanted to emphasize is that all of this is relative to how many hours you are technically working, how much you actually make a day by working, and whether or not you have enough time to actually go to sleep. I mean, I could go through a perspective, time frame by time frame, about what my day was like when I was at the height of working at my old job. But basically, for all those who needed to know, it started at 6 a.m. and it ended at midnight, which meant that on average it was about 6 hours a day, 6 hours of sleep per day, which is, I'm just going to say this right now, even for young people out there, take my advice. Don't do that. 6 hours, an adult male needs 8 hours on average, I would say. And but even then, I suppose, I wonder if all these things just sort of, because eventually, and this is something that unfortunately DSP, it might happen to DSP, and because it certainly happened to me, is that this sort of thing will catch up with you. And it will catch up with you in ways you're not suspecting. But let's keep going.
Do you feel that your community and the people who donate to your streams are enabling that lifestyle? Do you feel that they are encouraging you to live that lifestyle that may not be the healthiest lifestyle?
So you're saying through people showing up and supporting my streams, they're making me work more. Is that the question?
Maybe you have a pressure.
Okay, let me see if I can reword this. For the audience you have, if you spot regular names and regular people who come to your stream, whether it's to donate or just talk or just watch the stream, is it more important to cater to what you have right now, because it's probably at the point of most convenient? The whole thing is that, is this lifestyle, is streaming those hours to the audience he has, is it more out of convenience, as opposed to maybe just doing one big stream and maybe shelving the podcast to maybe a once a week segment? Is there a way of sort of restructuring this so that you can have more time for sleep, you can earn more money, and you can spend more time with your wife? I'm sure there's probably pros and cons to everything I've just said, but certainly when it comes to when I come to like doing when I'll start doing like Twitch streams and stuff like that, I'm gonna have to not go at it like just do it whenever I really can do it and cram a lot in. I'm gonna have to go with this with like a very legitimate plan if my schedule of work is the way it is, and there might be even problems with that, but that's a subject for another day.
That you're putting on yourself to do that because this is your only job, and then you're therefore working as much as you are because you are, working for the support that you have. So it's like cyclical. Like they come and then you're like, I need to be there, and then like now you need to be there and do it all day, and then if they're not there for you, then it's kind of like this mental addiction almost. I mean, I've been doing YouTube for about 3 years, and I know that it's a thing. Getting addicted to super chats, numbers, analytics, like the way that you spoke about analytics about 20 minutes ago, or no, 40 minutes, I don't know, earlier in the stream, you're clearly very much like watching it and attuned to it. So it's obviously on your mind.
Right. I think the biggest thing is, we talk about mental health, right? Mental health, physical health, and how they're so tied together. And the one thing I didn't hear during there is a time to, whether work out or have time for yourself. Everything that you're doing right now seems to be from a streaming perspective, from a content perspective, right?
Oh, hanging out with his wife.
Right. Well, but an hour at the end of the day, right? Yeah, and that's awesome. I'm just thinking once again, like it seems like you're in this never-ending, I don't know, for lack of a better metaphor, like a hamster wheel, where you get up and you start running, and then you finish up at the end of the day, and you finish up running, and then you get off, you go to sleep, and you wake up, and you do that 6 days a week. And I understand we all have our hamster wheels and our rotations and our schedules and the way we do things, but it just appears that just from the outside looking in that if you weren't making the money that you were making, you probably wouldn't live that lifestyle.
Okay, fair enough. I've talked about this many times over the last several years with my viewers. They say, what would you change if you could improve anything about your life? What would you do? And the answer would be somehow to take financial pressure off of me so I could spend more time with my wife. We've been married since 2019. We never went on a honeymoon. We haven't been on a trip since we got married. We can't afford it, and I'm sure stuff will come up. Yeah, I went through
And I know immediately exactly what you're going to be saying right now, ladies and gentlemen, and I know immediately, well, it all comes back to the fact, ladies and gentlemen, that this is WWE Champions. It steps in, and this is the sort of thing that also probably Phil, like, I think Phil, secretly deep down, he knows fine well that even if he won't admit to it, he's got a bit of a gambling addiction when it comes to WWE Champions. I don't know if you can say it's gambling. I think you could say it's more just sort of addicted, just like period. He's fascinated. He is obsessed with this game, and well, he's got to be asking himself, is it really worth like putting that much money into it? I mean, Phil, $100,000 even as of late, but I don't even know what the official. I heard it's something closer to $250,000 at this point. But think about this, Phil. If you didn't do that, you could have, one, saved yourself from bankruptcy. Second, you could have taken Kat on a honeymoon even 5 years after you get married. 3, the trolls would not pick up on this, and you wouldn't have this many detractors on your tail. If, why, I'll say it before, I know that, Review Tech said it before, but why does everybody know everything about you, Phil? Because you tell them. That's why. It's nothing to do with us. It's because of what you did.
Bankruptcy, because of really bad choices in my past, and a combination of online trolling ruining a lot of my financial income with my business. And a combination in tandem of that ruined a lot of stuff for me. Since the bankruptcy went through, I have not been able to fully recover because of it's always something else, and I'm tired of it. I really am. I'm looking, where's the light at the end of the tunnel? So I can have an extra day off with my wife once a week, which
it still comes across as though he's blaming everybody but himself. Phil would be the sort of person where he'd say, if WWE Champions or WWE Supercard, if they did not exist, I would have been 10 times happier. Well, put the game down then, Phil. It's as simple as that. And I know this, you know this, everybody else knows this. Phil, just, if you think this is, okay, here's the thing. I know Phil hasn't 100% said at any point in this that he thinks that what he's doing is unhealthy. But what I am going to say to this is that if Phil is legitimately very serious about perhaps maybe wanting to recover from the bankruptcy hearing of 2020, if Phil was serious about trying to spend more time for Kat, making her feel more appreciated and loved, if Phil was serious about just wanting at the point in his life where he wants to maybe even have maybe a second day off, or just have more people come to his channel just to watch him and stuff like that. Phil, I'm just going to say this for the record right now, because this is something that I had to tell myself. And I wouldn't normally say this before, because I know he's not going to be listening to this, but I'm just going to, for the interest of people out there who aspire to do Twitch streaming or do content creation, I'm just going to say this. I would say, you know what, step up to the plate, you know, pull your finger out, you know, work harder and, you know, be smarter about what you do. I'm actually just going to say this as to stop, give up, don't fight it, throw in the towel if you're not prepared to change. Because if you are willing to change, then expect to work hard. I mean, what would it be like if Phil literally didn't even have trolls or detractors at all? Who at that point would even be remotely interested? Because DSP has alienated and pissed off quite a lot more people. When you think about it like that, is it more important for Phil to actually invite some level of harmony into his chaotic lifestyle, or is it more important for him just to stay the way he is? Because that's what it comes down to. If Phil really wants this, then... But then again, I've said this about Chris as well, Chris Chan as well, and well, I couldn't... Chris does not strike me. Chris and Phil are not particular. There are similarities between the two of them that you might not think many, but there are, you know, because I don't really think they think that it's even possible to change so that their lives can be better. Maybe at one point, but maybe not now.
Which I think I deserve and she deserves. But every time, and again, I want to make something very clear here. I am not trying to put myself out as a victim, all right? The reason that a lot of the things that happened to me over the years is because of me. I know that. I'm a flawed human. I'm sorry for some of the horrible things I've said and done over the years. I've publicly apologized. That's why a lot of people hate me. But every time that it looks like things are getting better, these people will do something horrible to me or my family that ruins financially things for me. This has happened several times.
Explain, Phil. Give us an example.
Over the last few years. There was 2 years ago, all right? There was a light at the end of the tunnel. I was still on Twitch. This wasn't when I was full-time YouTube streamer. I was a Twitch streamer. I've been streaming on Twitch for 4.5 years. I built up my viewership and my subs on Twitch were at like 900 subs a month. Things were going good. I said publicly to my audience, guys, this is great. You know, the bankruptcy went through last year. That's not great, but that took a lot of financial burden off of me. If things keep going how they're going, I see a light. I'll be able to improve my business. I'll be able to maybe take time off, spend time with my wife, reduce the amount I stream. This will be outstanding. What happened? My trolls took the King of Hate mantra, which we just discussed earlier, and they got me kicked out of the Twitch Partner Program because of it. Now, I've been with the Twitch Partner Program for 4.5 years. Twitch had no issue with me. Twitch, knowing who I was in my past and the kind of content.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Was Phil kicked off the Twitch partner program because of King of Hate, or was Phil knocked off the platform because, as was stated by Twitch, Phil had a propensity of using hateful slurs and hate speech? I'll tell you what. Because I know Phil probably might not have a great memory about this. Let's remind ourselves. It's right about
back to Twitch in 2016. With respect to your Twitch account, Darkside Phil, the agreement pursuant to the terms therein, Twitch terminated the agreement following its investigation of repeated instances of inappropriate conduct involving hateful slurs in violation of Section 4.2.7 Appropriate Conduct Agreement. What the are you talking about, you lame-brained pieces of hateful slurs? Hateful slurs. What hateful slurs do I use on my streams? People are stupid. Other games, I have no problem, but this game, there's no surround sound. They're I want to watch some. It's so. You go on YouTube. How do you avoid someone joining your party when it's set private? Are they stupid? So shut the up trying to spread misinformation. That's not what happened, okay? There were no hateful slurs ever on my streams, ever. Since I've been on Twitch, I don't use hateful slur language at all. Ever, 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 ever. I can't, dude, they're still there. Seriously. Two little sitting there. Meh. Oh my god, look at idiot. I'm playing a game online and someone turns on their mic randomly and says, you little man-child piece of, you know, whatever they're gonna say to me. Bad, man. It's so bad. I'm the least amount. I grew up in a multicultural world. Every school I ever went to.
I know I've said this before, but I'm saying it again. You know, so did I, Phil. But that didn't, make it okay. You know what I'm saying, Phil. It doesn't grant you the right to say the things you did, no matter where you say you grew up from.
Or whatever. I was surrounded by people of every race, color. I don't care about that. I don't see people by the color of their skin. It's a book. Obviously, it's supposed to be Asian. The name of the author was I Ching. I Chingy. Are you kidding me? I've never ever used a hateful slur. Ever. And that me off. So you may be eligible for partner status in April of 2022.
So, yeah, I rest my case.
That I put out and everything willingly took me under their partner program. They signed me up for promotional opportunities. They'd be promoting different things on their streams and stuff. And then they actually campaigned to get me kicked off of Twitch, and they did. So I'm not kicked off of Twitch, but I can't make money on Twitch anymore.
What did they do? What do you feel that they did to you to get you removed off Twitch specifically?
They organized a campaign. They did it, and the thing is, these people are so everything they do, they try to do publicly, so that way they can get a laugh out of it, or at least get credit for it. So there was an organized movement against me, where what they were going to do was say that 2021 Phil, because that's the year this happened, is the same as 2009, 2010 Phil. They took out of context clips. They took those bad jokes from back then, which I've already publicly apologized for, and I don't do that kind of stuff regularly anymore, okay? I've grown from that.
Well, I just saw a bad clip from a year ago, so that's pretty recent.
Correct. That's correct. And again, I'm totally fallible. I make mistakes from time to time, okay? But for the most part, that's not me anymore. You can watch
I know, but what you just said was just disproven because you had just made it that same kind of racy joke. I'm not trying to make it a big deal, but I'm just pointing out that what they were saying is 2021 Phil is the same as before. When you just told me in 2022 you made a joke. So this was after they'd said this, and you're making the same kind of like inappropriate jokes that you were back then.
Correct.
So it's kind of, so they're right? Are they right or are they wrong? I mean,
they're right in saying that I still make mistakes and I'm a flawed human. They're wrong in saying this is who Phil is all the time. This is his content, because that's what got this happening. And by the way, it wasn't just the Twitch partner program. They basically did this exact same thing to all these different business relationships that I had. They said he's the king of hate. He has a website called thekingofhate.com. Here's a bunch of bigoted, racist, sexist, horrible jokes he's made over the years, and they compiled this into like a montage. And they basically had hundreds, if not more, people pummel these businesses with it, to the point where they said, listen, it's not that, we had Phil on our site for so long. We knew this was him, but we can't have people constantly harassing us for this. So we have to end it. That way it'll stop. They won't still keep bringing it up.
Did Twitch tell you that? Did they say that to you?
Twitch told me, here's what they told me. We launched an investigation into your history, and we found that over the years you have used, what was the word? It wasn't hateful racial. Slurs. It was harmful slurs. Harmful slurs, as if basically I'm saying really nasty racial or things that I do not say. I do not say those things. I'm the least amount. I grew up in a multicultural world. Every school I ever went to or whatever, I was surrounded by people of every race, color. I don't care about that. I don't see people by the color of their skin. It's a book, obviously it's supposed to be Asian. The name of the author was I Ching. I Ching. I Chingy. Are you kidding me?
I rest my case.
You'd have to go back so far to see me say something like that, and it was a one-off comment that was, again, I'm sure people will bring it up what it was specifically, and we could address it individually if you want to, but the way they're portraying, we found that you...
In the same way Dr. Disrespect messaging a minor was just a one-off thing. Phil, think about this. Seriously, think about it. It doesn't look good, does it?
Said this 100 years ago, sorry, you're gone. Like, what? I was on your site for 4.5 years making money. You never had an issue with it. Now you find something from the past, and that's not acceptable. And all of a sudden, what changed overnight? And the funny part was, it happened to me. It happened to another streamer called Wings of Redemption and others all at once. Almost as if Twitch was having a culture shift where they decided they wanted problematic people off the site. They wanted them,
That is true. I mean, that happened to plenty of people.
Right.
I know people who got booted off of Twitch because they're Christian and they're proud of it. And it's pretty crazy. So I don't like Twitch.
So here I am. I've never received any kind of a warning. I never gotten a community strike. Everything I'm doing according to Twitch terms of service is fine. I'm not banned from Twitch. I could stream there right now. But according to their partnership criteria, all my past actions are unforgivable, and therefore you can't make money on our site anymore.
Did you go to them and bring them, did you explain to them this comment was made? Have you had any sort of discourse with Twitch to kind of explain these things? Because if you're saying that these comments were made a decade ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever, and culture was different or whatever it is you want to say, have you had that opportunity to speak with Twitch about these things? And if you did, do you feel, well, no, we'll start there.
Okay. And by the way, it's not just Twitch. This happened to several other businesses too. I don't want to talk about all of them publicly only because it's just going to open the hornet's nest. But basically, these businesses, the way that they approach it now is, well, we have terms of service. If you break them, too bad. We have absolutely no legal obligation to tell you what you did wrong because we just don't have to. I don't believe that's true. I think if you do something wrong, they should tell you what exactly.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they do, but maybe they didn't do in Phil's case, but maybe Phil should have asked them immediately, well, if you're opening a case against me, I need to know what evidence you have about me utilizing hateful slurs. Phil should have followed this up. Here's what Phil should have handled this better, because by the way, this is how Phil didn't do this. He offered them an ultimatum. That's what he did.
I've never. eligible for partner status in April of 2022. Dear Twitch, watch this video and listen to me very carefully. I want a public apology from you. I never did what you were telling me I did. There cannot possibly be evidence I did because it never happened. Not once have I used a hateful slur on a stream on twitch.tv. Never. Ever. Shut up. I'm going to tell you right now, unless you want to be permanently banned again. Look at that. I got right back in because the guy's a
You'll kill you. 1 second, we got this.
Nah, they're going to get you before you revive me, I think. What the they didn't? What are they? You owe me an apology. In addition to that, I demand that if you do the right thing here, you're going to reinstate my partnership. And if I don't get it, I'm never going back to Twitch. As you guys know, I've already started streaming on YouTube this week. So
now, by the way, I should also point out is that Phil, I think, can still apply for a Twitch partnership at this point. But again, maybe you want to look at it from this perspective. What if Phil wanted to stream on both platforms? Maybe he can make his money back again that way. I don't necessarily know for sure, but I get the impression that maybe Phil could have handled the situation better because he could have had the opportunity to redeem himself, but no, he didn't.
Specifically, what you did and how to remedy it. Because if you're telling me I did something to break our legal agreement, obviously I want to fix that. I don't want to keep doing the wrong thing, but they don't care. I tried reaching out to the legal team of Twitch, and essentially we have no obligation to have further contact with you. If you'd like to reapply for the Twitch Partner Program, come back in 365 days and reapply, and at that time we'll reevaluate the situation. So now I'm out of income for a year.
Okay, so can you still be an affiliate?
Nope. I was completely out of the partner program for a full year.
So it's been a year. Why don't you try to rebuild the affiliate side of things and try to reapply? And I mean, it's been how many years now? I mean, and if you go the affiliate, so if you go the affiliate route, I mean, being a partner on Twitch, and let's be real, being a partner on Twitch it allows you nothing. You know, there's no benefit of being a partner on Twitch at all outside of them.
It's actually worse because you can't share your content in multiple places. You have to be exclusive on Twitch.
Right. So it would seem like the best route would be go the affiliate route and not be a partner on Twitch. That way you can stream to YouTube and cast your net as wide as you possibly can and grow your audience as much as you possibly can. I don't know. Why not do that?
Well, I've told you one half of the equation. Let me tell you other stuff that was also going on. Within that same time frame of that happening, the whole year, Twitch had basically several times shut down my business entirely for things I never did. So for example, it was the summer before I'm streaming a game and my stream just goes offline right in the middle. What happened? Oh, you've been hit with a copyright strike. A copyright strike. Someone lied, said they worked for the company that I was playing the game of and impersonated an employee, and Twitch doesn't vet it. They just shut your whole stream down. This happened probably 3 to 5 times within a small time frame. And I'm like, wow, I hope it goes away. Eventually it did, but they left me with basically no avenue to really fix this issue besides going to their support and saying, you know, what are you doing? Do you actually have confirmation this is real or not? Then at the same time, okay, that I got kicked out of the Twitch Partner Program, I decided I'm going to, just what you just said, Craig, I didn't just quit Twitch that day. I stuck around for about a month after that. I said, you know what? I can't get super chats. I can't get paid subs right now. I'm going to roll with it anyway. Let's see what happens. Can I make a living? I had a Patreon. People were sending me tips, direct donations, as you call them. Maybe I could still make a living doing that. And you know what? More power to it, because if I can, now who cares if I'm not in the partner program? What are they going to get me kicked out of, right? As I'm streaming, I get shut down again. What? Oh, you said a racist term. No, I didn't. And then I repeat it.
What did they say you said? What did they say that you said?
I believe it was the N-word, but I don't know because they don't say that in the log that they submit. They just say, oh, you were caught saying a racist term.
Did you say the N-word?
Oh, no. I was playing Returnal, and when I was playing it, I was in the middle of saying something, and then like an enemy attacked me, and it was like a jumble of words that just happened to maybe sound like that. If you were not listening in context, you might say, "Oh my God, I heard it out of context. It sounds like he said it," but it was. It was actually like me getting tongue twisted. You know, everyone, and it could happen to anyone. And then they mass submitted my trolls mass. When stationary, negative 75% damage. That's really bad. When stationary, negative 75% damage. That's really bad.
I'd say it's more slip of the tongue because he wasn't really being ambushed or bamboozled at that point.
I submit that to Twitch. Oh.
So no, that doesn't really fly, that does it?
He said the N-word. So now I get kicked off of Twitch temporarily. My whole stream gets shut down. It took about a day. I got brought back, but it's like, at one point, when am I going to realize this business is not being professional? They're going to kick me out of their partner program for stuff I did 10 years ago, not give me any recourse to appeal it or stick up for myself. We don't have to do that legally. So, you know, oh, so now I'm out money that I was making for a living. Now you can shut down my stream at any time for something I didn't even do. And then I have to go out of my way to correct your mistake because you're an unprofessional business. I mean, and I was there for almost 5 years building a community. I had so many people who loved me being on Twitch, and I lost a lot of viewership and a lot of income moving from Twitch and coming over, becoming a full-time streamer on YouTube. YouTube is not as profitable to stream, man. There's no real discoverability over here. It's very hard to get noticed on YouTube. I lost a ton.
Well, that's not quite true, though, Phil, considering where you're at and compared to where I'm at, I'd say you're doing pretty well. I don't really know why Phil thinks that. Phil doesn't think that over 200,000 subscribers is anything to, you know, it isn't special. Which, again, that's sort of a big kick in the teeth for those who have stuck around with Phil, even after all these years, and all the things that he's done.
But there's no discoverability on Twitch either. Yeah,
why do you want to even be a streamer anymore? Like, what is your reasoning? I like streaming. I understand. I love being on stage. I'm a musician as well. There's something about having an audience that I really love, and I love having an audience. They're the reason that, you know, I'm successful. And it's like, if you're struggling, if you're facing this, like, wouldn't it be better for your well-being and like your relationship with your wife and your family to just stop doing this for a little while, to get a normal job and just, you know, kind of take a breather?
A lot of people have said that to me. My mother said that.
That does he does raise a good point. If he thinks it's really this hard, and if he thinks that it's a bit too much, then why not just pack it in and try and just get a normal job? It begs the question, if Phil is complaining that it's as hard as this, but does Phil think it's any easier in the real world for people who don't do this sort of thing?
That to me when I got married. She's like, you know, look how things are going. You know, on the internet, everyone's crapping on you. And, you know, don't you think that maybe long term things should change? And at that point, and that was around 2019, before the bankruptcy and all of that, I kind of agreed with her. I was like, yeah, look at this. You know, I'm trying my best. I'm trying to improve and be better. And it's like people don't care. People just want to crap on me no matter what I do. And my mom said something really important to me. She said, you're not beholden to anyone but yourself and God. Like, as long as you're okay with who you are in the morning and that you feel that you're okay with God. And my mom's religious, I'm not, okay? But when she said that to me, it was like, she's right. You know, why do I have to answer to an angry mob of people every day? Why can't I just live my life like everyone else on this planet, right? But, and of course, there's always a but, a lot of things changed between 2019 and now. I love what I do now. At one point, I will openly say this, I hated what I did for a living. Around 2016, a lot of things were going really bad for me. YouTube had really started to just totally hate me. I was getting, you know, all kinds of horrible things were happening to me behind the scenes. My personal life was falling apart as well. This is before I met my wife, by the way. And I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was trapped. I was like, I have so much debt in my name. There's no way if I quit YouTube, if I'm going to if I'm going to get a 9-to-5 job somewhere, I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose everything because I can't afford it. If I get a 9-to-5 job, I would never make as much money, as I do on YouTube or Twitch or whatever.
So So that's really what it comes down to is streaming is more profitable than getting a 9 to 5.
That's 50% of it, I would say, about a 50% weight. Because the other half is since I became a full-time streamer in 2017 and I changed my formula. It's not just about pumping out a ton of videos a day. Instead, it's about having meaningful content with an audience that I connect with. This now, I would...
Okay, so I have to give it a timeout for that. Okay, first of all, Phil, it's absolutely possible, to pump out... okay, so when I was starting to do YouTube, like, just a means of just having some fun with it and just seeing what happens, I could sometimes put out as many as 6, although on average it's roughly about, like, 4 videos a day. Sometimes it would be as many as 6, like... I would be pumping out videos left, right, and center. And here's the thing, is that it doesn't stop you from saying things that are meaningful. It doesn't stop you from talking about things that are meaningful. The only thing that is stopping you, really, is what you decide you do and don't do. What Phil doesn't really seem to get is that, guess what? If Phil just wanted to grind and put stuff out there and say things that probably meant something and talked about things that meant something, that might be a different matter. We could see a different side of Phil or see his perspective on things that we didn't know before, because most people who are generally quite well known on the internet, it is always fascinating to know what they think about this, that, and the other, because it offers a bit more perspective into their character and, what they really stand for. And I'm not saying go the Chris Chan route, because Chris Chris made the mistake of doing it, but then basically not really profiting from it. Chris got all the worst kind of attention, as we know. Meanwhile, in the case of Phil, why doesn't he just do... I mean, if he could just do that, his stuff would be monetized anyway, and he wouldn't need to be worried about copyright strikes and stuff like that. So, I asked the question, why Phil doesn't just do any of that? It might be a bit more interesting, and perhaps it would be a bit different if things were a bit more calmer and things were a little bit more down to earth. Maybe if Phil, we know he won't do that, but again, just Phil, what I'm trying to suggest is, and again, this is even to people out there who are aspiring to this, is that there are ways around this.
I would say for 2017 till today has been the absolute best time of my life, professionally and personally, because I met my wife and I have a great personal life. As little time as I get to spend with her, it's the best experience I've ever had in my life. It was a life-changing experience meeting my wife. And then becoming an interactive streamer and leaving that past behind of I have to fill dead air constantly with a stupid, risque joke and dumb commentary, and growing up and maturing. I'm 40 years old. I'm not some teenager or 20-year-old being an idiot on the internet. My audience today is not the same audience I had 15 years ago. Now, if you look at as Adam says, I'm Mr. Analytics, right? If you look at my analytics, you'll notice I get almost no teen viewers. Almost like less than 1% of my viewership are teens. It's people in their mid to late 20s, 30s, and 40s. Why? Because now you come to my content and it's chill fun. Every once in a while the rage comes out. Everyone laughs at it. But it's more meaningful stuff. I love that connection I have with my fans. I really feel like my fans are my...
I suppose the only thing I could say to that is that, well, compare this again. Maybe comparison is maybe the wrong way to word, but maybe Markiplier, for example. There are people who were watching Markiplier before he did Five Nights at Freddy's. There were probably people who are watching Markiplier all the way back from his, like, Sonic.exe or The World's Hardest Game, that Flash game from, like, 2010. There are people who've probably been watching Markiplier for as long as that. People who grew up with Markiplier, because guess what? Mark is not necessarily a different person after 14 years and in spite of, having, like, film projects he's been doing as of recently. But it's also because Mark was incredibly Mark was very, very open and very, very kind and respectful to his audience. Yes, he would scream and rage and he would do all these things, but it was at the game. He did not have... Remember, Markiplier was... When he did, that one game about the slice of bread where he completely destroyed his controller, Markiplier did not have the disadvantage of having an audience on stream that he was doing it to, and Mark had the initiative, and well, I don't know if Mark like did the editing himself or not. I really don't know about that, but Mark had the initiative to actually hire somebody out to edit the moments together so that it was more funny, and just Mark's delivery was what makes that work in the way it does. But whereas, again, because considering DSP, even during this period, was hanging on to Machinima when Machinima was barely holding on by a thread, I think, well, it was too late. And bear in mind, Mark was already like a very, very popular figure. Probably maybe out there with like PewDiePie, Jacksepticeye, and then Sky Williams and Etika. But they're these two, they're not alike. And also, people knew Mark and they'd seen him change and develop. And, well, considering just how popular Markiplier really, really was back in the day, and considering I might just go watch some old Markiplier after this. It would be a bit easier to get like a compare and contrast, because bear in mind, Markiplier, I'm just, you know what? I want to make this known as a fact that, again, he's still doing videos to this day. And guess what? Look at this. The Iron Lung trailer was 9 months ago, and look at this. Look how much he did. 3.25 million views gained just yesterday, and that's like nearly 100,000 times what I did. And by the way, I'm pretty sure, yes, Markiplier, like edited by Dice Roll. Yeah, if I'd say, to be honest, go and look, there it is. There's Sonic.exe 11 years ago. So yeah, just I don't really know what to say apart from, well, yeah, it's just it's not particularly very difficult to see, and well,
in some ways, and not that I'm going to that level of personal connection, but they're kind of like my friends. They're really good acquaintances who I know, and we can chat and we can dick around every stream and have meaningful talk. I learn stuff from my audience, and now I look back at my past like, what a dummy I was. I had this amazing experience I could have been having for years and years, and instead I sat there making dumb jokes instead of actually making meaningful content.
Okay, so I do understand this actually quite well, because guess what? If you're trying to be, I think when it comes to people who are being like, who want to be successful doing the things they love, they end up despising the things they do, and all they want to do by the end of it is kick it till they're dead. Because I think some people do genuinely forget that the whole point of doing this was basically to have fun doing what you do, and working with, well, getting to know people who appreciate you for the stuff you do, and you all have a good time and enjoy it together. I think some people get so lost in that they are more focused on, like they say, they do try and play the numbers game a little bit. They try and say, well, you know what I'm trying to come across, and I remember one time I was watching an episode of Love Island, like a new arrival came in, and he said, I've got over 60,000 followers on Instagram. That was like pretty much one of the very first things he said. And he said, I'm trying to say, it's not a broad meet. It's not a broad meeting. He's not turning up for The Apprentice. It's turning up for Love Island. 60,000 subscribers on Instagram. Yeah. Fine. Great. That's good. But come on, like, is there anything we should know about you? Anything personal? Anything, that does? I think the sort of people who openly brag about how many followers they have. This is something you'll never get out of Markiplier, by the way, but the people who openly brag about them having more followers than you are just some of the pettiest sort of people on earth. This is the sort of thing I imagine like Ellen DeGeneres would do. The person who tries to stay face, but her actions speak very, very differently. And that's again, it's not entirely unfamiliar when it comes to Darkside Phil, is that Phil may say all of these things. He may seem as though he knows where he's going wrong, this, that, and the other, but he doesn't really curb his behavior, and he just continues to make mistakes as before.
Okay, so I love
What
my
is
job now.
what does meaningful mean? What does that, like, walk me through? What does that mean? Do you feel like you're like, is this, you say you have your audience is your friends, right? You feel like you have now I've seen clips of you say that your audience is not your friends, right? So, like, are they your friends or are they not your friends? Are they, because you're kind of speaking on just based off clips I've seen.
Sure.
You're kind of speaking of both sides of your mouth here.
My audience are not close personal friends. I'm not going to come on stream and tell you about super important behind the scenes stuff in my life. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, I'm here 6 days a week. This is my social interaction outside of my wife and the one day a week that I leave this house to do stuff when I'm not streaming. This right here, this laptop, this chat is my social interaction with the world.
And by the way, whilst we're getting into the subject of this, I'll just say this, is that and I'm gonna actually stick up for Phil a little bit in this perspective, is that if every channel, every gaming channel on YouTube was like Markiplier's, that would be wrong to a point, because it comes across as people trying to leech onto Markiplier's notoriety in terms of all the things he did in the early 2010s. However, considering we know what sort of person Markiplier is, and he's been very, very open, and he does carry himself incredibly well. That's the sort of reason why I would rather settle for that, because at the end of the day, Markiplier isn't really that extraordinary compared to you and me. He's actually incredibly humble, and he doesn't take this stuff for granted. Phil does, and unfortunately, when you take things for granted, complacency sets in, and when that sort of thing happens to any YouTuber or any Twitch streamer, they kind of just plateau very naturally, because they think that's about as much as they need to put in for what's coming to the stream and how much they're donating to what I do. It didn't even occur to, I know somebody once donated like $1,000 to Phil's stream, but I don't think it ever once occurred to Phil that it's even possible to make even more than that a day, or even through one tip. I know that's but you get what I'm trying to say, is that even if you want to say they're detracting, or whether or not they're just people enabling DSP's behavior, at the end of the day, they're the ones who still donated the money. It's how it is, and this all comes back down to the fact that if Phil didn't immediately put it into WWE Champions, he knows that he could have invested in a better setup and took his wife out on an actual honeymoon a long time ago. I know this, and you know this. This is why. This is the consequences of your actions coming through. They always were going to be, but I, once again, imagine Phil doesn't quite know this.
So that is me being friendly with people. That's, as if you were, you go to your place of work. Hi, how you doing? Your coworkers, right? You walk in, you hang out with them or whatever. It's kind of what it kind of feels like, a camaraderie with regulars. And, there's people who come in and out all the time, and that's the nature of the beast. But I really do feel like today it's more meaningful what I do. There's, again, back in the day, people would say, Phil, I loved your content because I got to laugh today watching you rage. Today it's like, Phil, let me tell you something. Something horrible happened in my life. And I came by your stream, and I hung out with you for 2 hours today. You were playing Oblivion. We talked. I helped you with the game. We had fun conversation about something going on the internet. At the end of that stream, I felt so much better. It was such a fun, meaningful experience to me. And when people give me that feedback, that lets me know that what I'm doing is worthwhile. With all the hate and all the shit that gets thrown at me every day, that what I'm doing is meaningful. Since I've become a full-time streamer and I've taken ownership of who I am and the content I put out rather than just making dumb jokes, I feel like now this is the best time of my life, because I'm helping people. I don't know if that sounds crazy or not, but that's what they tell me. And I love it. It helps me.
Well, whether they mean that, or whether it's just a way to, again, enable DSP's behavior is or at least set the idea in the back of DSP's mind that what he's doing is fine. I can't necessarily say determine the sincerity of things like that. However, and again, this is something I need to point out, is that if people find something actually if it comes down to whether or not people do find meaningful things in the things I say and the things I do, meaningful, I suppose, it comes down to, for me, when I make what I can only best describe as meaningful, it should only be meaningful in the eyes of the people who are interested. It should only be relevant to those who are willing to actively take the time out of their busy days and schedules to watch my videos for like a couple of minutes and see what they can get out of it. At the end of the day, when it comes to that sort of thing, is that it's about sometimes what you get out of it. It's not about it's but I think people only get out as much as what I put out as what I put into it. I mean, a few days ago, before I made a long form video about Andrew Ditch, I talked about how there were concerns that Andrew Ditch was merely just faking autism just to gain clout on the internet. And I described through personal experience what a very dangerous practice that was. And, well, unfortunately, it uncovers a very, very harsh and cracked mask and reveals some not particularly nice things about the people who... It's basically the equivalent of, like, Boogie lying about cancer. Because I've had family members who've died from cancer in the past. My nan, for example, who passed away coming up nearly 9 years in a couple of months' time. Again, it was a very... It took about the process of about, like, 7 months until we had to say our final goodbyes. And then... like in 2019, I lost my eldest cousin to breast cancer, and she was just 39 years old. And without wanting to go any further into that sort of thing, it's... yeah, you can tell immediately like how hurt it is, because I think I'm more pissed at Boogie for lying about cancer than I am about Andrew Ditch for faking autism, because those people aren't here to defend themselves or to tell Andrew Ditch what they felt. It's not fair, and people like that shouldn't be allowed to get away with it. But again, when I'm coming back to the subject of meaningful content or stuff like that, if it means something, if there's something to be gained from it, then you are more than free to derive whatever you want out of it. Maybe it harkens back to some sort of long forgotten memory, because some of the videos I put out are for a slightly older audience, and again, that's perfectly fine. It's that I've got no issue with that whatsoever, and you can learn so many things about them. But let's it all comes down to who you're aiming for at, and what do you suppose you think reflects the sort of style you put out.
To me, you know what I mean? It's like kind of reciprocating back and forth.
Okay.
Let's I think that every streamer has a relationship with their audience that's unique, right? As somebody who's doing it, I don't know your personal relationship with your audience. Is that you, Adam? Was that you toasting? Okay, just making sure.
You were talking about a relationship with the audience, you know? And
right.
Just giving him a toasty.
Okay, just making sure. So, but it seems like your relationship is a little different when it comes to, you're very open that you are funded by your audience, right? You've said many times that you don't want sponsors, but you started talking today about how no sponsors will touch you, right? Because of for a number of different reasons, for your reputation, right? What is it? Which one is it? Would you rather have sponsors? What's wrong with having sponsors compared to if a sponsor is going to come and pay you $500 to talk about whatever their product is. Wouldn't that be better than having to rely on crowdfunding or your audience on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, it's a double-edged sword. It really is, because I could say right now, if I had a bunch of sponsors on my stream, absolutely would things financially be better? Would the pressure be taken off of me to earn on a stream? Yes, absolutely it would. But at the same time, and again, this is something that people will bring up that feels stubborn. I agree. I have always, in the 15 years that I've made content, always been critical of people who shill. And there's a difference between, I have a sponsor today and I shill. There is. I know that. You can watch people out there who they put out a 30-minute video and 2 minutes of the video is a plug. I think that's acceptable, right? But then there's people who they try every opportunity to monetize everything they possibly could. Every aspect of what they do is a monetization. I've seen in my React content last year, I watched someone who apparently is supposed to be doing a heartfelt message to about something going on. They're crying on stream, and on top of the stream, there's ads running. You can't turn that off for 5 seconds to do your heartfelt message to your audience, right? For me,
but hold on, Phil, because there are times where you say, look, hey, I really need, I'm in a really tough spot now. I got this coming up. And on the same screen, you have a tip tracker. It's the same type of thing. Like you're tracking your revenue on the stream, and I don't have any problem with that. That's done by millions of streamers. But it's the idea of saying like, hey, I'm in a really tough spot right now. I really need you guys to help me out. And in your words, I'm going to be eating lunch meat sandwiches, right? Like what's wrong with lunch meat sandwiches sometimes?
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with lunch meat sandwiches. I eat them a lot. They're delicious. No, I see what you're saying. For the tip tracker, that's really there for rewarding my audience. And I know that sounds weird. I would prefer not to track tips, because if I didn't have to track tips, I wouldn't have to count all stream. I could just focus on what I'm doing with my audience. But there's incentives. There's rewards that they like. They like silly things I do on stream. They've come up with ideas, not me. They come up with the idea that if I raise a certain amount on a stream, I put on a stupid hat or a vest. They donate hats and vests for me to wear on a stream to look like an idiot. And I'm okay looking like an idiot.
I know, again, this is probably something that is being raised every so often, but what about just, I don't know, doing something for charity, doing for something that, you can't earn money from, but just it makes you look good. Just something that makes you look as though you're doing it for more than just the money. Like, why not a revitalized version of the Ice Bucket Challenge? Why, I'm not saying this is something that's going to catch on. I mean, do you remember the Ice Bucket Challenge was like 10 years ago, wasn't it? It might even work today, actually, to bring that back after 10 years. But all Phil would have to do was, I don't know, maybe just do something like that, and maybe a bit of self-degradation is not necessarily the worst thing that Phil could possibly try. If it means, I don't know, just doing something to help out somebody else. I mean, has Phil ever done a charity-based stream? Has Phil ever done like a Red Nose Day event for charity? Has Phil ever just done a thing for Christmas time where he says, anything that you donate today will be going to those who will not be waking up with presents or anything to look forward to on Christmas Day? Remember, in the words of the famous song, there will be snow in Africa this Christmas time. The greatest gift they'll get this year is life. I know maybe this is all a bit much, but does Chris know it? Does Phil know it's Christmas time, is what I'm trying to say. Feed the world. Let them know it's Christmas time. Why Phil? You know what? The more I think about it, this is actually very, very simple, and this is actually far more profitable for Phil's reputation than probably it has any right to be, because Phil doing something for somebody else is, well, Phil will find some excuse somewhere, or he'll try and justify why doing things for charity is not a good idea, but we'll see.
idiot for them. I don't care. What do I, I'm self-deprecating. Who gives a crap? They're supporting me. It's a way to give back. No, I hear what you're saying. The difference is, all right, there's a tracker on the screen. Okay, big deal. I'm not going to sit there and talk about it constantly. If you watch a 4-hour stream I put out, yes, every once in a while, hey guys, it'd be great we can get some more support on the stream or whatever today. And then we move on, right? And I'll hit it upon it a few times during the stream. Some people say I hit upon it way too much. And I understand that. Everyone has different perspective on that. I agree that sometimes I do it too much. I'm trying to get better at that. But there's a difference between that and you could tell that a stream is being done because someone is enjoying themselves and having a passion, or someone turned on a stream today to make money. You know what I mean? There's people out there that I feel like the only reason that they're in it is there's no passion. They don't love what they're doing. It's because they saw dollar signs and they want to monetize as much as
sounds
they can.
like projecting right now.
Yeah, but Phil, you just said a few minutes ago, and I mean this with all sincerity, man. You said just a few minutes ago, the reason why you still do this is because you can make more money than a 9-to-5 job, right? And
Half
it's
of it, right? Mm-hmm.
right. So like that's a pretty big half, and I don't know, man. It doesn't seem. It seems like when you're asking your audience for money consistently. Look, Adam and I have both worked with people who like the worst thing you can do is look at your audience as a dollar, right? And
yes,
and this is something that I don't have a whole lot of. I've left companies over this, right? And this is something that I don't agree with. But I would say that when money comes in and you reach a goal, let's say you reach a goal and you put on your vest or whatever, how are you taking that money and are you reinvesting it into your content? Are you reinvesting it into cameras? Are you doing special streams outside of just your day-to-day gameplay stuff? What value are you adding by people? I mean, I get you have to pay bills. I get it, right? What value are you adding to your audience's experience to further that meaningful relationship that you're offering?
Yeah, we've had big goals. Like for example, if we hit a monthly members goal on YouTube, if we hit a sub goal on Twitch, now instead of just doing our normal routine gameplay, I do an interactive event with the viewers where we'll talk for a series of weeks. What do you guys want to see? Do you want to see a big React event? Do you want to see a special party atmosphere? We just did one a couple of weeks ago. It was a Super Bowl event. I'd never.
What is a React event? What does that mean? Is it just you watching stuff or?
Well, React would be, for example, let's say there's a documentary, a long form documentary out there that people really want to see me react to. It's for 2 hours, right? But for me to react to it, it's going to take like 3-4 hours. Well, that's going to take a major chunk out of my normal schedule to do. People also don't want me to get backlogged on the games that I'm playing. But you hit that event, now we're going to do special things.
I have heard that Phil's not great at this either because, well, again, to pull up Secret Limited again, let's bear this in mind, ladies and gentlemen, about how Phil does this like meaningful ways and stuff like that. Let's just put this on silent for a second. Yeah, that's a Dark Side Down the Rabbit Hole video was about 30 minutes 53 seconds. DSP does it. It takes 4 hours 26 minutes and 4 seconds. Now, I would say maybe on average it would take me about like maybe an hour to do it, or because there would have to be some stuff I would like have to really want to sort of like go, wait, what? Why would Phil do that? And stuff like that. Like stuff I was like not prepared for, I guess is the right word. But then how, unless it's any way relevant to what the subject matter was, 4 hour, like it's he makes the video 5 times longer than it needs to. And what exactly does Phil really add in all of this? What is the gain for Phil adding as much as he does? And bear in mind, there's like a lot more and stuff like that. Like if you want interest, the John Rambo and Howard Tello edited video was 2 hours. It took Phil 8 hours to get through this. And people despised Phil for doing this anyway. And goodness knows how long it's going to take me to get through this, but, well, I chose this. At the same time, I'm learning quite a lot more about this, and I think there is a lot of things that Phil is kind of... I don't know if Craig and Adam know him enough to do this, but Adam is kind of like... He seems kind of suspect. And I'm almost trying to wonder exactly what Phil's original intention was for doing this.
This big React event, it's separate from all my other content. A lot of times it's hyped up. We set special things around it that I normally wouldn't do. Yes, some of that money gets reinvested. I have a series. I know this sounds stupid, but my fans love this. It's called Feasting with the King. Basically, I order a meal, and I eat a meal with my audience. They think it's funny, because they think it's funny to see me eat. I look stupid. They say I look like I'm in pain when I eat. They like making fun of me, right?
When you say the king...
You're still using the king moniker, I see.
Right, the king of hate.
Not the king of hate, that's the thing.
It doesn't matter. You say the king, and that's what it was, so people are going to make that connection.
You're 100% correct, and the thing is, I do need to try to fully phase it out. Feasting with the King and Ask the King are two leftover shows or events that I do that have the King moniker in them that I probably should try to phase out or rename. But when you have things that have been running for so long, people actually have pushback. Like, don't change it. We love it. It's been like that for so long. Those are my true fans saying that, not my haters. But you're right. I agree there. But anyway, no. Yes, I try my best to reinvest. There was
how.
Well, like I just said, doing something above and beyond. I'm gonna.
Well, that doesn't cost any money though. Doing another stream, reacting. That's just making more money.
But correct. But then the ordering of a giant meal that normally I wouldn't order. I'm talking ordering 2 entrees and stuff, getting DoorDash. You're talking.
That's like that doesn't even come across as like special. It's just watching Phil, scoffing himself. Like I said. I would rather sooner have do something like an ice bucket challenge myself if I knew the money was if it was going to do some good and raise charity for some. Like, I will ask openly and through a lot of platforms if whether or not people would be interested. Well, I suppose interested, blah blah blah. Maybe I should just shut up and just do it. Yeah, maybe I should just do it.
$50-$60 out of my pocket that I normally would not spend. It's not budgeted, but because we did the special event, and I know I hear what you're saying. What you're saying is, if you have these goals every day, where's the money going? Would you really like to know? Do you really want?
It's not. Honestly, it's not that we are asking. It's that I feel like the people out there that have been supporting you, that now have turned against you because they feel you lied to them or. You saw them as dollar signs, and that's all that they were to you. It's like, I feel like they want to know most.
Well, then let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a minute, right?
Set it up.
There was a, you went through bankruptcy, right? And that's pretty public. You went through bankruptcy, and there was this, the $5,000 business expense thing has been talked about by your detractors quite a bit. They say, what could you possibly be spending $5,000 on? Look, a month, you are a streamer who streams, by your own schedule. You're active 12 hours a day doing this, right? And there's.
And by your own admission, you said like you didn't fix the set at all. It's been just a shoddy set for most of your over a decade of doing this.
Right. So. There's this whole, like, what do your business expenses look like? I mean, I've done this for a long time. The business expenses are your initial cost of setting up your camera, your lights, and that's about it. And then after that, it's your cost
Internet
is your time. Yeah, is your time, right? And so walk me through, what does that look like? What is it specifically? There's this $5,000 business expense every month. So what is this?
Okay, so first of all, we're talking about things that came out publicly during a bankruptcy proceeding, correct? And I believe that the $5,000 a month number came off of, I believe it's from a tax return. Is that correct? That it was filed or the data? I'm trying to remember exactly where it came from. You guys probably know more than me because you've probably been inundated with this for 2 weeks while I'm so far removed from this.
I want to hear it from you.
I think, again, I'm just speculating. I think what happened was when I filed for bankruptcy, a lot of information goes public. And so they look at a public filing. I guess there's certain information that's made public. I don't think it's all your tax returns. I think it's like 1 year's worth or something. And I guess there was a number that was thrown out there that it looks like Phil spends $5,000 a month on business expenses. Now, number one, I don't do my own taxes. I have a tax guy to do. I pay him to do it. Okay. Here's what I can tell you. All right. When I can tell you right now, because I'm working on it right now for this year, what are considered expenses that a tax attorney wants to know you're spending every month?
Also, again, I don't think it's like bad for Phil to actually have an accountant, because, like, listen, take it from me, trying to do balance your purchasing, your labor costs, your overheads, your break even, your taxes, distributing, forecasts and stuff like that can be quite difficult at the best of times. But again, this is what you do, Phil, and how much do you pay this accountant to manage all this? And is it even worth it unless, you make $5,000 a week?
Geez, your mortgage, because if you work from home, I guess that's part of it. I don't know. Again, I'm not a tax guy, but your cost of your mortgage, all of your utility bills that apply to you operating the business. Correct.
Well, hold on, Phil, you've been doing this for 17 years and you don't know what your business expenses are. You don't know what you get tax write-offs on and stuff. I mean, like,
I'm glad Craig said this as well, because does Phil not even have contact with his accountant? Why is he paying an accountant who's not telling him things like this? Phil needs to know more than anybody else about this.
Specifically, no, I don't. I give it all. I pay him a lot of money to a tax guy. I have a giant, spreadsheet of data that I provide. They work it out because every year it's different. I get to feel the tax laws change and stuff, and they figure it out. I give them all the data. In fact, just got an email from a tax guy the other day. He's like, we still need this data for you for this year's tax filings. We need how much do you pay for utilities? What's your cost of internet this year? What's this? They need all that information, and I got to get them to, and then they do it. So, here's the thing. All right, everyone, we're really going to get to the meat of it. Is this stupid WWE champions bullshit, which I cannot wait to talk about it.
We'll get to that. But I want to stay on this for a minute. Like, just once again, walk me through this, because, like, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, and I'm trying to think through
while you're piecing it together, building that up. I just want to remind you, Phil, like, you said at the beginning of this stream, you want this to be where people can go to finally, like, you just go watch that video, right? Yes. I don't have to say it anymore. So, correct. Like, this, you said, like, what do we want to know? This isn't for us. This is for the people out there that are like, what about the $5,000 a month? So, what about WWE Champ, which we'll get into? Like, what about these things? So it's like, this is your...
Like, if hopefully, because I've got like a make or break interview in about a week's time with the Prince's Trust about whether or not I can like go the self-employed route if things don't work out in my day job. There's a lot of backstory behind that, but basically, business expenses a month for me would be about, oh god, I'd say at the very most maybe £500 a month. Considering that probably I would have to pay a fair share towards, the electricity bill and stuff like that. Just so that's outside of that there really isn't anything else. Outside of, let's say, if I was just doing videos on my my camera here, maybe getting a new 256 gigabyte SD card, maybe once a month, but that's like 80 quid and stuff like that. Or maybe I need a new external hard drive to store all my data and my videos on. That would be maybe another £100. Like, but would be like once every. It would take about nearly 3 months to fill 2 terabytes of data. So that doesn't really fall anywhere close to that either.